Hello and welcome to this edition of Minstrels on the Block. I'm Brian Mallard, your host, and I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. I did. Today's guest on Minstrels on the Block is Mr. Alex Jordan. Alex.
How's it going, man?
Good to have you on the show, man.
It's good to be here. Good to be here.
So tell me about yourself. Where were you born?
Well, I was actually born on base in Heidelberg, Germany. Both my parents were military at the time.
Cool.
Since I was a kid, we just kind of we moved around a lot. Obviously, because we were military. I think my mom retired when I was born, and my dad stayed in up until the time I was about 10 years old. And so we moved around a lot. We were in some place I can't even remember. I remember the last place we being before we were here was Arizona. And so, Arizona was really nice. It was really fun. It was really hot.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated that because I came here and it's like, where did this cold weather come from? Yeah. I'm not prepared. We lived in Kentucky for a while with my mom's parents. We lived in lots of other places. I can't even remember where my sister was born. I want to say it was Baton Rouge. But, we've been all over the place. I think Georgia's is where I've stayed the longest. I've been here since I was like 11 years old, and so I'd say about 8 years now. Wow. About to be 20. I can count. Not 20, 10 years. About to be in June. So
cool.
Yeah.
How long were you in Germany?
Not long enough to learn anything about it or learn the language. I think I was born and then we just kind of left maybe within that year. Mm-hmm. So I was 92. So yeah, it was probably maybe about a year or so.
So tell me about your parents as far as the military. What was the rank? What did they do?
Well, I don't think they got very highly ranked. Although I was talking to my dad about he was pretty high ranked up because a lot of the men in my dad, especially my dad's side of the family, went into the military. I think I'm the first person not to, or the first one. But they were tech and intelligence and things like that. They weren't field operatives, so they worked on computers a lot, which is what my dad does. My dad's a computer technician at Sandersville Technical College in Washington County, if anyone knows where that is. I tell people a lot. I tell people where I'm from or where my family's from. It's like, yeah, Sandersville, and they're like, I've never heard of that. And then, well, Washington County? Nope, nothing. So in the middle of nowhere, Georgia. That's about it. So, but yeah, my dad's a computer technician, and my mom's an accountant, and coincidentally, I must not have gotten that side of the family trait because I'm terrible at math, as you can probably tell. It's not my thing. My parents have always loved music, which caused me to love music. Ever since I was a kid, they used to play R&B a lot. I mean, the old school stuff from like 90s, 80s, 70s, Earth, Wind and Fire, Mariah Carey, R. Kelly. My dad loves R. Kelly, Boyz II Men, New Edition, Lionel Richie, all that good stuff. And that was the first time. That was the music that I grew up with. So I love it even still today. I've never really played it because I don't know. Instrumentally, I feel like R&B is it's really difficult instrumentally because, especially older R&B, because there's a lot of jazz in that, and jazz is a very difficult genre of music to play in. But vocally, I started out singing, tunes, by myself or with my mom. My mom used to love to sing along all the time. My dad, funny story, my dad's actually a terrible singer. But yeah, that's where I grew to love music. Even though my parents are very technical-minded people, they loved music, and they would play it for me all the time ever since I was little, and that's where that came from.
Well, there's a lot of technical aspects of music. One of our early guests, Mr. John Phillips, a good friend of mine, used to host the Fountain City Open Mic, was talking about music and children who learn music at an early age do excel at a lot of different things. I've heard it from some other places too. That there's math in music, so kids who learn the theory do well. So the technical aspect is really present there. So you grew up listening to music. You've listened to a lot of music along the way. When did you decide that you wanted to play music? Did you wake up one day and say, "I think I want to play music"? How?
Well, it's funny. I had never thought much of it as a kid. When I was little, I used to sing all the time, and people would look at me and go, "You have such an amazing voice." I was like 5, 6, 7 years old at the time, so I didn't know what I was doing. I was just singing, Yeah. And I loved I didn't really have a lot of friends as a kid, so I spent a lot of time to myself. I talked to myself as a kid, and I'd sing to myself because I loved movies, also, especially musical movies, particularly Disney movies. That's what my parents used to show me all the time. And we had like this giant case of Disney VHSs that I kept with me all the way until I left for college. I think it's in a box somewhere that my mom, I don't know, somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it really hit me that I wanted to do music as a career, as a musician. Probably around middle school, it's that time where people start looking at you and asking, well, what do you want to do with your life? Where do you want to go? What do you want your job to be? And I had never really thought about it up until that point. And then I realized, music is fun, and people make money when they do music. So I put two and two together. I guess I want to be a musician.
Yeah.
And that was that. I think I picked up the guitar when I was like 14 because when I got into high school is when I started getting into other different kinds of music. It went from R&B like 24/7 when I was a kid, still with my parents, and then when I got into school and started meeting other kids, I went to predominantly white schools where they played a lot of pop music, NSYNC, Britney Spears, things like that. And so I got into that as I got older. And then when I got into high school, people started. I was introduced to rock and roll. Well, not rock and roll per se, but like rock at the time, punk bands in particular, right, Blink-182, Green Day, My Chemical Romance, bands like that. And I was a little skeptical at first because of that genre of music, because I was never into very aggressive kinds of music. All the music I ever listened to was about love or feelings and emotions and things like that. And then you get into punk rock, which is a very aggressive type of music, both lyrically and musically. Yeah. And I was really skeptical about it at first because I was kind of a softie as a kid, so I didn't really know how to be angry or how to be aggressive. Yeah. And I don't know, that really. That really put me in a completely different track than where I was going when I got into rock and roll. What really got me was when my sophomore year of high school, me and my friends watched Across the Universe together. And I don't know if you know of this movie, but it's a musical featuring entirely Beatles songs. And I watched that movie and I was amazed. And so I went back and I did so much research on the Beatles, and I learned everything I could get my hands on about them. I watched documentaries. I listened to all their stuff on the internet. I went out and bought the CDs. I think the two that I have right now are the Let It Be album and my favorite album, which was Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Oh, yes. Most amazing CD of all time. I highly recommend it to anybody who's into the Beatles or into rock and roll. It was just an amazing album all the way through.
Or anybody who's not into the Beatles, if you listen to it, you will be.
Yes, most definitely.
Stop right here, and we're going to check out one of Alex's songs, and we'll be right back after this and some more with Alex.
The song's called Lenore, parentheses, Say Goodnight. It's based off of it's based off of the poem by one of my favorite authors, Edgar Allan Poe, and it's basically just about losing someone that you really care about, but knowing that they're going to a better place. I guess there have recently been a lot of deaths. Well, not a lot, but a few people have committed suicide at my school, and I guess I kind of wrote this in commemoration of them. So to all those people who knew them and who loved them, this song's for you.